Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family. We chose this one. This is either number 262 or 263, Christine from 1983. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too, and this episode is brought to you by Kill Devil Diesel. Speed and machine. Your one-stop shop for all your diesel needs. Check out Kill Devil Diesel.
Well, shout out to Kill Devil Diesel and welcome to a bonus episode of Too Fast, Too Forever. Instead of me giving us more work to do, Joe, this was your baby. This was your idea. You're like, we should do Christine. I'm like, all right, let's do it. So here we are.
Yes, I'm very excited, and I hate to admit this, but I had never seen this movie before.
I had never seen it either.
Okay, so we're both coming in fresh, and it feels very appropriate. I mean, like, this is kind of one of those, like, like whenever we were talking about Caligula, where, like, everybody kind of knows what Caligula is, but, like, they hadn't seen it. I feel like a lot more people have seen Christine, but, like, I knew what Christine was without seeing it.
I feel like my idea of what Christine was similar, but a lot of this was different from what I was expecting, I think.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's absolutely fair. I can agree with that. But, like, the general premise... It was like killer car type situation.
For sure. Yeah.
Cool.
You know this is a Stephen King thing, right?
Stephen King, John Carpenter, yes. So it should have been something that I should have seen a very, very long time ago. I know that like my parents have talked about it. I think that maybe they just watched it when I was a kid, when I wasn't around type situation. Like I was too young to be like in the room while they're watching it type situation. But it being Stephen King, whom I love, and it being John Carpenter, whom I love, like, I don't know how I never got to this, but here we are.
I think with me having seen Christine and The Fog for the first time in the last two nights.
Yes.
Did
you watch The Fog? Wait, by the way, did you watch The Fog knowing that you were watching this? Because thematically, it seems like it's right in line.
No,
and I was thinking about
should have. Like, I think at one point I realized it, but, like, as we'll talk... Okay. So this episode comes out on Halloween for everybody. It's going to hit the Patreon feed and the main feed at the same time. So the patrons have already heard tomorrow's Life in the Fast Lane, but everybody else has not. So I talk about Hooptober on tomorrow's episode, and I'm basically just watching shorter to longer just so I can get through more, and The Fog was one of these shorter movies. And I'm like, I could also, like, I really like John Carpenter's movies. I've never seen this one. I've been meaning to. Let me get to this. And then I think at one point I was just like, that and Christine are both. But it's also weird, and I don't know if this is accurate or not. I have no idea. I feel like I should know. I don't think Christine really feels like a John Carpenter movie.
In what sense does it not feel like it?
I don't know. I think it's like brighter, maybe. I don't know. It feels like a lot of it is daytime. There's stuff at night. I don't know exactly how to describe why it does or doesn't. But I think now between the two of those, aside from the original Assault on Precinct 13, I've seen like all of his big movies now. He's only got like maybe 12 or 13, maybe if you count I haven't seen Starman either. So I've seen most of them, if not all of them, other than Assault on Precinct 13, depending on whatever. But I feel like I can't really articulate or define what does or doesn't feel like one. This feels sort of like The Fog feels like one, maybe just because Jamie Lee Curtis is also in that. I don't know exactly, but I don't know. Also, Kurt Russell not in this. Kurt Russell in like 4 of his movies, right? So
yeah.
I was also thinking, future down the line, I think before we do a The Rock lap, even though it seems maybe blasphemous, I think I want to do a Kurt Russell lap because I just want to watch the Kurt Russell, John Carpenter movies on here, like The Thing and Escape from New York and Big Trouble. Like, just like, those are the ones I want to watch, so, yeah.
That would be really, really cool. It's hard to argue that you should do that before The Rock, but I'm... with you emotionally.
Neither will be there for years because we've got like the laps are forever long now and we have a couple queued up or whatever. But just something to keep in mind. Before we go any further, 2 things. First bit of housekeeping. Shout out to our patrons. Shout out to Cassie Wilson, Ben Milliman, Nick Burris, Alex Ellen, and Justin Kleinman. Sorry, Justin Kleinman, Brian Rodriguez of High School Slumber Party, Haley Gerbies, Wes Hampton, Jerry Robinson, Dan the Duke, Hayden, Renato D. Donato, Michael McGann, Lane Middleton, Lindsay Lewandowski, Nate Milton of the Kings of Sport, Jason Rainey, Tom Price, Mike Gallier, and Jessica Collins, a.k.a. Montez. Thank you all for supporting us the $5 a month level or above. And while we're talking about Too Fast, Too Forever, and Fast and Furious, there is one bit of news that has come out since, or I just didn't see before we recorded, but there was a thing on Variety yesterday as we record this, last week as you're listening to this. Universal Pictures boss, quote, I would love to see us do a female Fast and Furious spin-off movie.
Well, awesome. But also, didn't we already fucking decide this? Good on you. You're also the boss.
Yep.
So just fucking do it.
I would love to see a female Fast, Langley said. So would Vin. We have so many great and amazing female characters in our franchise, and now there's the new addition of Brie Larson to add to the incredible roster. I'd love to see us do a female Fast.
Yeah, no shit though. I think this is more egregious than The Rock being like,
Yeah.
that we made Black Adam so that he can fight Superman. Because it's like, you're the boss. You have the characters. We already thought this got greenlit based on what they were saying earlier, and like Michelle Rodriguez had pretty much, right? I think it was Michelle, right? That they had asked, and she was like, "Oh yeah, like they greenlit like a female one, and Vin is very supportive, and we can't wait for it, and all this stuff."
So here's the official stance right now. Rumors have circulated for a few years now, which includes Jordana Brewster, Michelle Rodriguez, Charlize Theron, Helen Mirren, Natalie Emmanuel, Brie Larson now there. Vin announced in 2019 via the comments section on Instagram, that screenwriters Nicole Perlman, Lindsay Beer, and Geneva Robertson-Dworet were being tasked with penning it, but there's never been an official studio greenlight. The girls need a spin-off, Ludacris said in 2021. That's what needs a spin-off. All the badass, kick-ass women in the film, that's who deserves it.
So we got Luda with them too.
Luda's on board. Yes. Jordana Brewster, quote, that would be awesome. I've heard those rumors. I think that would be incredible. Think about all the people we could bring back, right? We could bring back Eva Mendes, who'd be incredible to work with. It'd be really, really cool. I can't speak to the discussions, but I think it would be awesome. So fingers crossed. And
that quote is really weird and telling. She says she's heard rumors. So she's either playing
speak to it.
Yeah, I can't speak to it. Is either she's playing coy, but it also sounds like she's not involved in this at all, and Vin just ambient replied on Instagram.
There's been so much, like, between Roman crip walking that Dr. Dre became a billionaire, Vin announcing things in the comment section, The Rock talking about candy asses, like, Instagram is where all the news happens for this franchise.
Yeah, in the comments.
Yes.
Not like they like make a post, right? I mean, well, I guess like the look little bro, whatever, right. That one. But otherwise, it's just chaos dropped into a comment somewhere, and it really feels like somebody took too much Ambien and just like tweeted some nonsense, you know?
Yeah. One more quote, Natalie Emmanuel Ramsey said, quote, I want a girl spinoff. We find a way to bring everybody back and we make a badass girl Fast movie. I'm so here for that. That's the Fast spinoff that I want, that I demand. So, yeah, cool.
Send it. Please just do it. We thought that it was in the works. We've been pitching it. I'm excited for it. Stop, twiddling your thumbs and get on it.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Please and thank you.
Yep.
So Christine from 1983 on AMC Plus, the weirdest value in streaming, I think. But I do think for $9 a month you get that and Shudder and you get IFC and everything. So it's on there if you want it.
Oh, do you have that?
I do, because I was paying for Shudder. I'm just like, I just might as well pay another $4 and get everything. So yeah, AMC Plus.
What is like Shudder's like $5 and then okay, cool.
Yeah, Shudder's $5 and then you get AMC Plus and you also get IFC Films or something. So because they're all owned by AMC. So
do you like either of those services?
I love Shudder. I think for $5 is like the best value in streaming, and I think the other one's like I just like having access to things legally, and like this is also I get it through Amazon, so it's just in Prime, like it's not a separate app, it's just in Prime. So
what does that mean? I've never.
So like if you just search on Amazon for like Christine, it just says like Watch Now, like you don't have to like go to the AMC Plus app or whatever, it's just part of Prime Video.
Okay, that's interesting. I bet that they're all backed on the Amazon cloud servers, anyways, right?
I think so. Yeah.
I'm assuming if you can do that, it's just on the Amazon cloud, and it's like Amazon either lets you watch it through AMC or lets you watch it through Prime or lets you buy it through Prime, and then it's just like cuts that shit out. Okay, that's very, very interesting and cool to know.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that's there if you want to watch it. If not, you could probably rent it for a couple bucks just about anywhere. But So there are two different descriptions, like plot summaries that I like about this. So the IMDb one is simpler. A nerdish boy buys a strange car with an evil mind of its own, and his nature starts to change to reflect it. or the Letterbox one, which is sometimes hit or miss because it's kind of crowdsourced, but not always. But this is
Okay.
a really good one, I think.
Okay.
Geeky student Arnie Cunningham falls for Christine, a rusty 1958 Plymouth Fury, and becomes obsessed with restoring the classic automobile to her former glory. As the car changes, so does Arnie, whose newfound confidence turns to arrogance behind the wheel of his exotic beauty. Arnie's girlfriend Lee and best friend Dennis reach out to him, only to be met by a Fury, with capital F, like no other.
That's a good one.
It's pretty good. I was happy with that
I
one.
also didn't know that the car was a Plymouth Fury. That's a car that my dad has. He has
Currently?
yeah, it's in Pittsburgh. He's getting it like he was like getting engine work done on it, and like the window, the automatic window motors didn't work or something.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but it's a 73 Plymouth Fury, not a 58 Plymouth Fury.
Right. Because
But
this
I didn't know that
movie,
no, I just didn't know that they made that model for that. Well, like that's a long time. Even back then, I feel like that's like a
because Plymouth is gone now, right? They've been gone for a while.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I did not know that this movie took place in both briefly, like 57 or 58, and then mostly in 78. The original, like the car being born, is not in the novel.
What do you mean the car being born?
So like the car, quote unquote, being born, but being made like on the line is not in the novel.
Oh,
I think the novel just starts in modern day.
that makes sense.
She was evil from the day she rolled off the assembly line because there's that guy who's smoking a cigar and ashing the cigar. Like, can you imagine working at a place like this and like smoking a cigar around brand new cars and then ashing on the seat? Like that
Yeah,
seems so rude.
it's a different time, man. It was a completely different time.
I also like they do say at one point about somebody dying in it, but like you know how like there's that thing. I think it's only in certain states, but like if someone dies in your house, you have to disclose that. Like it's not every state; it's only like a handful of states. But like if somebody dies in your car, like this car kills this guy, would you still sell that car?
100%. I'd still
Okay.
buy that car. You kidding
Well,
me?
okay.
I don't. I'm not. Death in the house freaks me out more than death in the car.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would buy a house that somebody died in, but I would smudge it and probably have like somebody. I would get both a medium and a priest to come through the house once if I really liked it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I was like teetering on a house and it was like I was like, oh, I kind of like this, I kind of don't. And they're like, well, somebody died in it. I'd be like, cool, I'll find another one. But if I was like, I love this house, this is a perfect house for me. I love everything about it, and they're like, two people were found dead in here. I'd be like, okay, I think we can smudge that out of this.
I guess I think it freaks. I just think for me, car much more contained, enclosed space.
Well,
Dead spirit taking up much more surface area or volume of the car.
but no,
House,
okay, for me, I think that the spirit kind of like stays in the place, not the medium. So like you can't move a house around. You can drive a car to your house. Is
okay.
what I'm saying.
So you
So
think the
that's
ghost is
what
hanging out in Detroit?
yeah, yeah, like or just like the garage that they like died in. Like I feel like like a spirit kind of is I don't know anything about this. I've never researched it, but in my brain, my head canon is that the spirit stays in the like residence.
Gotcha. Okay.
So for me, I'm like, okay, somebody died in the car. Like now, if it was like they died in the car, they found them 70 days later, and there's like a body print in the seat, I will be
Sure.
like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
this is bad. But if it was like, oh, they found them like the same day, there was like nothing there, and I'm like, I cleaned the upholstery, I'd be like, yeah, I'll smudge it anyways, but like we'll keep it moving.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's fair. So in the novel, which I'm assuming you've not read the novel. I've
No,
not read the
no,
novel.
no, no.
There was a time where Bob was going to cheat on me with a book podcast with another book podcast, where it's like some guy just wanted to read the Stephen King books, but like it was like this weird. He's like, I can't do like it was a weird release structure. I don't know, but I know
Okay.
that he's read a lot of the early ones. I'm sure he's read this. But in the book, Christine was just a normal 58 Fury that was
Yep.
purchased by this guy Roland LeBay, brother of George LeBay, the guy who sells Christine to Arnie in the movie.
Yep,
But
the old
Roland
guy.
LeBay
Yep.
made Christine evil, his love for Christine overriding even his love for his wife and daughter, both of whom died in the car. So Roland's evil spirit becomes one with Christine. In both the movie and the book, Christine could drive herself and repair any damage as long as she kept moving. So when Roland died with no one to love her and drive her around, she ceased quote unquote living and began to show her age until Arnie came along, Roland's evil spirit and love for Christine was then transferred to Arnie. So that's like that's the main difference. There's not really like a difference like in terms of the story that we see, but the background of like why Christine is evil. Because in the movie, it's just like she's always been evil, man. And here, it's just
Yeah.
like no, this guy was like a real fuckwad, and he inhabited it with this like evil spirit that like then was transferred on. So like end same end result, but just a different way to get there.
Yeah, and I think the movie does a good job to just skim over that part. We have a lot of qualms usually with like divergence from the story, but
Mm-hmm.
like to cut it down, we get to the same. It's the same vehicle, pun intended, to
Wink,
get
wink.
there.
Yep.
So I have no problems with that. I'm sure that I haven't read the book, so I can't comment on it. I'm sure that the book does a great job at that, and I like Stephen King, so I'm sure that it works there. But this works as well for me in the film. So
Yeah. This is also one like Stephen King was already so popular by this point that like this movie was optioned and in production before the book even came out. So like I knew that like
oh
especially now like that's not uncommon even for authors who aren't Stephen King. Just like oh the woman who wrote this one thing that became a huge movie, her next book's already been like it's common, right? But here
yeah, yeah,
I think like within 10-ish years of him, maybe 10, 15 years of him becoming an author, and he's already this like phenomenon because his first like 4 books or something like are all insanely huge, like massive global bestsellers, like beloved books. So
yeah.
it's like, yeah, this movie's gonna be a hit. So like, let's just do it. The other thing, the reason this came up is because we were talking when we did the Firestarter remake for Zeph. John Carpenter was supposed to do that, but then the thing was a flop, and he was just doing this. So they're just like, we'll just give Firestarter to someone else. But that's where this came around because like in around this time, it's just like Stephen King, Stephen King, Stephen King, John Carpenter. Just like okay, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they were like the two fucking dudes to make movies like this. Yeah.
So a couple other background things about the car before we talk about the movie. So 15% of the budget was on the cars alone. By the end of filming, all but 2 were totally destroyed. Because like there's so much crazy like actual practical effects in this, which I think is
Oh
the
yeah.
only way to do it. And like
Yep. Yep.
I can imagine how many cars they wrecked.
I'm assuming all of those like reanimation rebuild shots are demolitions in reverse, right?
Yeah, so that's what I was about to say next. So the
Good.
way to get it regenerating itself, because basically, in if you've not seen the movie, when it takes damage, when it does damage, if it's burned, if it's crashed into, if it's whatever, it basically just like
Stretches
like
like a
puffs
cat.
itself out like a pufferfish, yeah,
Yeah.
and just like fixes itself. So to simulate that, they installed hydraulic pumps
Yep.
inside some of the numerous stunt doubles, which were mock-ups in plastic that looked more like metal on camera than actual metal as it bent into form. So it's funny that they're like, hey, we can't get this metal to bend like metal. Let's do just this plastic that actually looks more like metal, but it worked.
It works great.
It
I
looks
think those
so
are
cool.
those are some of the coolest fucking shots I've ever seen in a movie. I really, really like them. Like to the point where like I like paused, turned to Rachel, and was like, "That was really fucking cool." Like the shot where they like, I'm gonna get mildly into the movie, but the shot where like the kids come in and like destroy
Yeah.
Christine, and then like she just reanimates like in front of you.
Hmm.
I it My brain was like they had to do this in reverse, like I just said, but like it looks so great that I was just like, that is really fucking cool how practical and realistic it looks.
Yeah. So the pumps were attached to cables, which were then attached to the car's bodywork. And when they compressed, they would suck the paneling inwards. And then the footage was reversed, giving it car spontaneously retaking form. So you're exactly right. It's just like we're gonna like basically suck the air out of the plastic. It's gonna crumple in, and then we're just gonna play it back reverse, and it's just gonna be great. So very cool. To your earlier point, not knowing it's a Fury, that kind of is why Stephen King chose it because he thought it was a quote forgotten car. He didn't want some like legend attached to it like a '50s Thunderbird. But they purchased and restored 28 Furies for the movie. So I guess they destroyed 26 of them, but they had a whole bunch of different Furies that just were around. They just kept smashing them up.
That makes a lot of sense, and also it's a good move because if you pick a more forgotten car, it's cheaper and easier to
Yeah.
find a bunch of them that you can restore, right? Like if it's not like a prized car like Eleanor, like a Shelby Cobra or
Hmm.
something, then it's like, okay, well, if we're gonna have to spend 15% of the budget, we didn't have to spend 40 or 50% of the budget on these cars.
And
So
the kind of irony of the way that it works is that like the Fury then becomes a sought after car because it
yes,
was a forgotten car, and now it's like, oh no, that's Christine, man.
yes, exactly, very very cool.
This was originally rated PG because there's not a lot of stuff that like there's a lot of violence, but like it's cars, like it's not really It's not like really, really violent, but they were like, nobody's gonna see this movie if it's a PG. Like nobody wants to see a PG Stephen King movie. So they added the word fuck a bunch of times, and they're like, oh, what? Like,
It
and
does,
so
and it shows up in bunches,
yeah, and so they got
so you could
criticized for it. They're
tell.
like, this is not like this is lazy screenwriting or whatever. Like we needed to do that to make sure it got rated R because then people would go see it. So like it's a weird like nowadays people strive for PG-13 unless you're like making like a quote unquote real movie because PG-13 like gets the like all the biggest box office movies are PG-13 because like everybody can see them. But
Pretty
here they're
much, yeah.
like, we don't want that because there's no PG-13 in 1983 yet because that's around the corner because of stuff like
Oh, it's PG and
Raiders.
R, right?
Yes. So like Raiders and
Okay.
Ghostbusters and I think maybe Gremlins are all PG and people are like these are not PG. Like there's got to be something in between. So they made PG-13. So this was either PG or R. They're like I think they would have been fine if it's PG-13, but they're like we got to make it rated R. And so they add the F word a lot and they were criticized for the use of it just because it feels weird. Like if you notice you're like why is this happening?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I definitely noticed it because there's like, I think the scene that he's like on the porch with her or something, or like maybe like one of the times that Arnie's talking to his mom, he says like fuck like 3 or 4 times in a row.
Yeah.
Like,
Listen, motherfucker. It's like what
yeah,
why? What?
yeah, yeah. It just feels like if I get that he's transitioning into an evil person and stuff, but at the same time, like the string of them so close together is like it feels unnatural even for normal conversation, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So I get it.
He's just the bad boy. So that's guy played by Keith Gordon, who I don't really know. Originally auditioned for the role or considered were both John Cusack and Scott Baio.
Oh, both sound like pretty good choices, to be honest.
So I don't remember if they were known at the time or not, but John Carpenter's like, I want people who are unknown. Like, I don't want people to come in with like these preconceptions of who these kids are. I want to have people who like become names from this. And so he went with largely unknown kids.
And it works excellent, in my opinion. I really, really like it. I have to steal and share a thought from Rachel that she said to me last night as we're watching this movie
What's the
very
thought?
early on. What's Arnie's friend's name? Dennis?
Dennis Gilder is played by John Stockwell. Yeah.
Okay, she's like, Dennis would absolutely be played by Paul Walker in a remake of this movie, right?
I think, and I
Go
wrote
ahead.
this on my letterbox review,
Okay.
he is somehow both Lucas Black and Paul Walker.
Ooh.
Like
I can see a
when
little
I
bit of
first
it.
saw him, I was like, "Oh, that's Lucas Black." And the more the movie goes on, you're like, "Oh no, that's Paul Walker." But like,
It's 100%.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know
It's
who
100.
was originally offered that role, but then turned it down to do a different movie? A big name, a big name.
Offered this role?
Think about maybe I don't know if you should. I don't know if you're going to get it, but you can get it. But someone big in the '80s, really handsome young dude on the verge of stardom.
George Clooney.
No,
I don't know then. Who is it?
Kevin Bacon. Kevin Bacon was offered this role, but then ended up doing Footloose instead.
Not a bad choice.
Because the kid also kind of looks like Kevin Bacon a little bit.
Yeah, I can see it.
So
After watching Friday Night Lights with Paul Walker, and the character is very similar, and then seeing how much he like could look like and be Paul Walker, I see what you were saying that he does facially. He does have a little bit of Lucas Black in him, but the character is Paul Walker. Yeah,
plus he's a wide receiver, and we saw Lucas Black in not Friday Night Lights. What's the other one? Varsity Blues.
that's right. Yeah,
But Paul
Or am
Walker
I
played football
talking-
too, didn't he? What was he in?
Was it Varsity Blues or Friday Night? It was one or the other. That
Oh,
Varsity
Lucas
Blues.
Black. Okay, Paul Walker's in Varsity Blues.
Yes.
Lucas Black's in Friday Night Lights. Yes.
That's what I mean. Okay.
So they're both football players.
Yes.
So the girl who is in love with Dennis is Kelly Preston, who famously was married to John Travolta for a while. She passed away a few
Oh.
years ago, but I kind of wish she was in the more of the movie, but she's just like once Lee shows up, Kelly Preston just basically goes away. But Lee was originally considered, Brooke Shields was considered for her. I think she was
Brooke
already
Shields
like
would be
a
great.
name by that point. Like she had already been in Endless Love a couple years before, which is Tom Cruise's first movie. But they just like need somebody who's like beautiful, right? Just like, oh my God, this is the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. What's the line? She quote looks smart but has the body of a slut. It's like what?
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, I mean, it's an old movie. There's a lot of stuff like that
I
around.
mean, it's funny. It's very Stephen King. It's very 80s, but it's also like, whoa, okay, that's getting to it in a hurry.
Yes, yes.
And the only other casting I want to say is that Buddy, who was played by William Ostrander, who's like the bully in shop class, the guy with a huge like mullet, like the mutton chops, not mullet, but the mutton
And
chops.
the like the tank top and the big
Hmm.
muscles. That guy,
The
yes.
guy who looks like he's 30 years old.
I, dude, that's the first word that came out of my mouth when I saw him on screen to Rachel. Is that man is 30? He's not in high school.
So Brian has already covered this on High School Slumber Party. I would imagine. I think when he was doing this, he played those games. But like, if he's not the answer to like who looks too old for
Cameron
this,
Fry
it's like
Award.
yeah, it's like no, that's definitely he's the winner. But originally considered for that role or auditioned for that role, Nicolas Cage.
Ooh, I don't think that would have worked.
He was a little unhinged in a couple early roles. 83 he was doing like Racing with the Moon and stuff. Like he could have done it. It would have been weird. He had that intensity. I don't know, but I was just like, ooh. So I told Mike, and then Christine is a red sports car basically, and like red sports cars is like a running sort of gag through Cage Club for us. But
Okay.
yeah, so like there's a Cage connection there as well. But I was just like, oh, Nicolas Cage, very cool.
Yeah, that would have been cool for you and for us and for the network.
Yes.
I don't know if I can see it personally. And I like the low star power here.
Yes, I
The
agree.
John Carpenter, like not having somebody that's recognizable, I think benefits in this case for this movie.
But that's all the background stuff I have for this. So, initial thoughts of Christine. What do you think? Did you like it? Did you love it? Comparing to, like we were saying, what you thought it was going to be.
I loved it. It was similar to what I thought it was going to be, and it was just generally awesome. The only like qualm problem thought that I had was I expected it to be more horror-y than it even is.
Maybe that's why it doesn't feel like a John Carpenter movie. Because, like, I don't know, but like it doesn't. It's more like a high school movie than a horror movie.
Yeah, and like you do damage to the car, so there's not much like gore or blood or anything, right?
Right? Yeah.
So like the car is getting hurt more so than people. Like even when he like when she runs down the kid in the thing, like we don't see him really get splattered, right?
Right. No, like we just see like a car like run over a body or something, right?
Yeah, so it's those kind of things that makes it like I thought that it was going to be more of like a violent car explosion, crash, blood things. And they really tone that down to just make it like the car is the scary element, not that there is like a car in a horror movie.
Like I think the coolest shot and the scariest shot, and like the thing I'm going to remember from this movie, is when Christine chases the last two of the bullies to that gas station, and then like it erupts in flames. Then Christine backs out on fire. I'm like, this is the
That
coolest thing I've ever seen.
coolest thing I've ever seen. Excellent, excellent shot. I want to know how they did that because I imagine if you're a stunt driver in a car that's completely engulfed in flames, that's insane.
So they were saying that like they blacked out the windows in Christine because they didn't want you
Yes.
to know if
Yeah.
Arnie was driving, if Christine was driving itself, whatever.
Exactly. Yep.
But
I
because
got
they
that.
shot so much of this at night, the stunt drivers, even without the flames, had a really hard time driving because they're like, we can't see anything. Like it's all like tinted
It's
and it's
so
night
tinted.
out. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That makes sense, but like you're right. That's a shot that I will never forget. Also tattooed in my brain. The Christine pulling out of the gas station completely engulfed in flames is so badass. That's fucking awesome.
One thing I did not realize, and I don't know that we need it. And there's a big thing I want to talk about, but the one thing that like I meant to say before and I didn't. I didn't know that this like spanned so much time of the year, and they kept having like dates up there. I'm like, are we building towards something? And like, not really. Like we kind of build up toward New Year's, but like even that's just like, all right, like to what end? Like, did
No,
you?
the timing has no bearing on it. It's just to show you that time has passed, so he's evolving deeper.
Right.
But yeah, I thought so too. I thought that we were gonna build to Halloween, honestly, because you start out with the first one, it's like October 9th or something,
Hmm.
and I was like, okay, cool, that's like close to now, and I thought that it was gonna be like October 9th, October 14th,
Yeah, but then it's
October.
just then it's like November 12th, December 10th. It's just like, wait, what? Why? What are we doing?
Exactly. Yeah, same. And they make no sense. Like none of the dates. Oh, I think one was like yeah, like really close to Rachel's birthday, and like yeah. So
The biggest thing I want to talk about, the most Fast and Furious thing about this movie, other than the fact that there's cars, I had no idea how much this story is just two dudes in love with each other. Like, this is such a homoerotic gay love story between Arnie and Dennis, and like just the car gets in the way, Lee gets in the way. But these two dudes, like this is a real Dom and Brian situation. Like they are just two guys around cars who are in love with each other, and I had no idea of the gay undertones.
Yes, and they're complete opposites too. Like you have like a jock, you have like a
Yeah, there's no reason they
nerd.
should be friends, right?
No, no, I feel the opposite, Joey. I really do. I think that this feels like a really great friendship in the sense that they were probably like friends from a very, very young age, probably close, like lived close by. And it's just like, like one of them is a jock, one of them's a nerd. They kind of like, it's just mutual coexistence, right? Like you're like, oh, this is beneficial for both of us. Like, because he even says to what's her name, like, I can help you with your math, you can help me with my whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? And I think that he and Dennis got along like this, so I think that it actually reads as like a very, very pure relationship. And you see it from the beginning when he like sticks up for him, knowing that he's the jock, and like anything that he does is gonna have to, like, he's gonna have to follow through, right? Like if
Yeah,
he
I think
stands up to the kid with the knife, like he has to follow through because he's like, star football player.
right.
Like he's the only one that can save him, and he has to do it.
I think
So,
just like stereotypically in high school movies, there's such cliques, and like if they were just
yes.
like we lived next door to each other since we were five, like that's why they're friends. Like they just like we're friends. And then like, there's the other dude who's like kind of in between, who's like kind of a nerd but kind of a cool guy, or trying to be a cool guy who also is in love with Lee, and just like so he also kind of like doesn't really fit, but also perfect. Like it just like the dynamic on screen works, but I feel like
Yes.
in an '80s high school movie there doesn't seem to be a reason why these two would be friends. Like it feels like Dennis would be like giving Arnie like swirlies or something, but he's just like, no, we're best friends. Like I want to get you laid. It's just like, oh, okay,
No, I disagree. I
all
think
right,
that there's always like an offshoot subset that although that there are cliques in high school, you definitely have people that are still friends. At least in my experience, like, we had a very, very good football team, like a state renowned football team
mm-hmm.
in my high school.
Well, yours is also like I feel like yours is different. Maybe when it's an all boys
All
school, I don't
boys,
know. Yeah,
yes.
like
I
there's because
think
there's not you don't like have to like look cool because you're not impressing girls, right? It's just
you do, but at the same time, it's like not really because they're not around all the time.
right.
So maybe that plays into it. But like, yeah, there was a lot of like, like everybody had their own cliques, but at the same time, there was large portions that were like, oh, like these are kids I went to grade school with, so like, some of the football players would be friends with some of the other kids just because like they knew them from their hometown, and also we had a giant, being an all boys school that had like a giant diverse population from a bunch of different places, neighborhoods, made it more integrated like that too.
Yeah, I
So
get you. I get you. I do think it's funny though if you think about this as a gay romance that
yes,
when Dennis is playing football, like he goes out for the pass and he goes up, like the quarterback throws it high or whatever, and he comes down, like he almost gets paralyzed. He is distracted because he
yep,
sees Arnie and Lee making out. Like you think that he's in love with Lee, but if you think like, oh no, he's in love with Arnie. He doesn't want to see Arnie making out with Lee. You know what I mean? Like there, it could go either way right there.
it could, it really, really could. I like the play and the read on it. I was getting similar vibes, and yeah, I agree with you.
There's a so there's Lee comes to school. She's this beautiful girl. Everybody's in love with her, seeming, or at least the three people. Like, right? It's like Arnie's kind of in love with her because he just wants to get laid. Dennis is kind
I
of
don't
like
even
maybe
think that, but okay, yeah.
he just like I think like, it's
She's the
mostly the
prettiest. She's the prettiest girl in school.
she's the
So
new
like,
girl in school too. Yeah, so like
yeah,
there's like
the
that
new
attraction or
girl
whatever. Yeah,
and the prettiest, and he's a nerd, right? So he's like, this is a girl that's way out of my league. Of course, he has a giant crush on her.
yeah. It's mostly the third dude who's just like this is the most beautiful girl. I want to have deep, meaningful sex with her or whatever. Like he's the one in love, and like we're just
He's like lusty. Yeah.
yes. Arnie is becoming cool because of Christina, so they go out like they go to a drive-in movie theater and it's pouring rain. I'm like, this feels like the worst. Like I can't imagine having
I
to see
thought
a
this
movie
too.
through the rain.
Yeah, I mean, have you ever been to a drive-in movie?
Yes, I went once a couple years ago. Larson, there's one out
Yes,
in
that's
Pennsylvania,
right.
the Mahoning Drive-In Theater that I went with Larson a couple years ago.
Yes, 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 yes. I remember this. Okay. Yes, Larson does love the drive-in theater. I've never been to a drive-in theater. I like have romantic thoughts about it. I think it's a really cool idea, but I've never done it.
Hmm.
But I also never imagined it being in the rain because I've never done it, right? So like the rain thing was a really weird element, and I agree with you. It's like you got the windshield wipers like on. I was thinking, I was thinking about you with all of your terrible AMC A-list
Oh
experiences.
yes. Hmm.
Like watching a movie at the drive-in in the rain has to has to be a pretty
Because like
bad movie
it's not
experience,
a
right?
good default experience. Like if you're there to watch the movie, and they're not there to watch the movie, they're there to make out.
No,
But
no.
like if you're there to watch the movie, like the picture is not necessarily great. The sound is kind of weird. Like modern day, you just tune into a radio station. Like if and like it's close. So like the reception's not bad, but like it's not as good as it could be.
No,
If you
because
have
it's
it like
not like stereo audio.
yes.
Yeah, you're looking through glass. I get it.
So like baseline in like ideal circumstances is not a great way to watch a movie. Here it's like downpour, which is both fuzzing up your vision, but
Yes.
also you also probably can't hear as well because it's like pouring on the car, like especially on like a metal car. Again, it doesn't matter because like he's trying to feel her up, she's trying to like go down, whatever, and then she's like, I can't do this, and like it makes sense, but it's also very funny. She's just like, no, I'm jealous of your car. You love her more than you love me. It's just like, wait, what? Where? When? What?
That was probably like the only part that mildly took me out of the movie, that she's just so overtly jealous. Like she like comes out and says like I'm jealous of the car. You know what I mean? Like
Like I
that
know that
like
like you have to get the ball rolling somehow with that,
yes,
but it's also
agreed.
like you could have done like one thing like where he's he this would be dumb, but like he's going to his car and like he passes her by to like wax
Wipe it
down the hood or
down.
something. Yeah,
I
exactly.
agree. 100%, and you accomplish the same thing and it's less corny.
So
That's yeah.
I don't
I'm with
know.
you.
But he has to convince her the entire time, like, no, baby. But he doesn't even like try to convince her. He's like, no, I do love Christine.
Yeah.
I also
And
love
he,
you, but I do love Christine.
and he even calls the car Christine to her,
Yeah.
which I think is a bad play. Like, I mean, I don't know much about women, but I think that that's probably the not the way you should play that. Be like, come on, man, the car. Like, you're
Yeah.
mad about the car. He's like, you're mad about
But
Christine,
also,
and
like,
you're
if he calls Christine the car while he's inside Christine, wink, wink, Christine's gonna get pissed, right? Like, Christine is just,
because she is the actual one that he loves.
yes.
So
I think it's the obvious way to do this, but I never realized how much Bumblebee and Transformers just stole like the whole talking through the radio thing. Because whenever Christine gets pissed, like the radio comes on, just like yeah, like she's just yelling at you.
you saw Rachel's tweet last night, then, right?
I saw the Emma Roberts tweet. Did she tweet another one?
Emma Roberts just tweeted that. I mean, sorry, Rachel just tweeted that Christine or Bumblebee is Kids Bop Christine.
Oh yeah, that's very fair.
Yeah, so she had the exact same thought as you. But yes, you're 100% right. She looked at me and said that she was like, so this is just Bumblebee, like when the radio, like don't come a knocking or whatever, like that one. She was like off the rip. She was just like, oh, this is totally just Bumblebee. And
Yeah,
I didn't know
spot on.
either. Yep.
Because the other thing, like, I realize, and it doesn't surprise me at all what I'm about to say, it shouldn't surprise you either, but like, when we watched Death Proof, we're like, oh, this is Vanishing Point, this is Two Lane Blacktop, this is all those classic car movies, but also, like, when Rose McGowan's like, you scare me, he goes, what is it, my scar? She goes, no, it's your car. Like, this girl is also kind of scared of Christine, right? She's just like, there's
Oh
something
yeah.
weird with the car. And, like, the Death Proof car is not sentient, but, like, I can see being like, no, there's something weird with this car, man.
Something off here. Yeah. I definitely can. I mean, I get bad vibes from weird shit. We've talked about that before. So, yeah, I could definitely see like I don't like this place, I don't like this person, I don't like this car. Like something's just off. It feels weird. Especially if somebody now, and like we talked about earlier, like somebody fucking died, three people died
Yeah,
in it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, it wouldn't feel weird to be like, hey, this car feels a little weird.
Right. A question for you in terms of spotting the talent in a car. So like Arnie and Dennis are like just driving. They see this car like parked and like it's got a for sale sign. To me, someone who has no interest in cars, no knowledge in cars, no desire to fix up a car, looks like an absolute piece of junk. Dennis is like, this car sucks. What are you doing? Arnie is just like, no, she's a beauty. But like this car looks beyond repair. But like if you, as you, current brain, whatever, saw this car, would you be like, yeah, that's a beauty? Or would you be like, that's too much work?
No, I'd be like, that's fucking sick. And
Really?
like I want it, yeah, and I want it because it has. I mean, especially now, because think about it, like the Chevy that I have here now is 4 years older than Christine even was.
Well, I think there's a different like because if this is a 20-year-old car, so like say there's something like
He
turn of the
says,
century that's really cool.
no, no, I still have this vibes now. Like, you have to, I know you do this with other things, so I'm gonna give you the outline of it
Yeah,
because I'm
please,
sure.
because the way that I see this car, I look at the car, I'm like, none of this is salvageable. Like, everything is banged up, everything needs to be replaced, everything needs to be fixed. Like, there's nothing about
Yes.
this car. Like, you're just, like, at that point, like, I don't know what you're buying if you have to replace everything.
No, 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 because you start with the frame. There's a lot of the pieces you can salvage.
Okay.
Like, like obviously Christine's like the lowest of the low to like in the most work and things like that. But in your head, like anything that you want, like if you had like the holy grail of your DVD collection, right? If you were like, oh my god, I want this, there's only 50 of them ever made, and there's one that has like some bent corners and stuff like that. Isn't it better to have that
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
one
Yeah. Yeah. Because, like, I,
than
I totally understand, like, when you fix her up,
it's gonna be
using
fucking
her,
awesome,
it's
right?
awesome. But, like, I just feel like I'm looking at this thing and like the seats are torn up, all the windows broken, everything is bent, everything is rusted, and I'm just like, you need to put in like TLC on like literally almost every part of this thing. They're just like, that
Yeah.
seems like so much work. Like, I understand like if you're gonna buy like a one that like is when Christine is fixed up, if you're gonna, like that's gonna be so expensive. But it feels like it's not gonna be like that much cheaper if you have to replace everything. But maybe it is. I don't know.
I A lot of these cars, especially from this era, like he's picking through the junkyard, right?
Hmm.
As much as they were like Plymouth, Chevys, whatever, whatever, they all kind of have the same parts.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
they're very simple cars, and the stylings were pretty close. So like, I'm sure that you could get like a seat from like a Chevy, a Ford, a Plymouth, whatever, and like all the seats would be very close. Like you could put like a new
Sure.
seat in. So like at the time, like it's not they weren't as hyper specifically variable as cars are today, right? Like the headlights on my car aren't going to go into your car.
Right. Yeah.
But like back then, like I'm sure that like,
There's four headlights.
yeah.
Hmm.
So it's like okay, and like any engine parts are very similar, and any like upgrades, like all the hot, and you had hot rod culture too. So like that's essentially like tuner culture for Civics, right?
Sure. Yep. Hmm.
That you're like you're gonna get all the aftermarket parts for all these cars because it's like dudes are like hot rodding them because they're cheap and old and easy to fix, and then you get a company that comes back 20 years later that's like we'll make aftermarket pieces for these cars. So but for me, like to answer your original question, that you were spot on with what you're saying. That like when I see like an old rusty car like that, I'm like, oh, imagine what this could be. And in my head, I see the finished product as opposed to the
Sure. Yeah.
shit.
No. No. Yeah. I think if I cared at all, I would be like, yeah, okay, this is cool. Like this is worth it. But I'm just like, I have no interest, and like it just feels like it would take forever. But I get it. I mean, I understand. But the beauty here, he doesn't do any of it. He just goes, okay,
Well,
show
he does a
me.
little bit. He does a little bit, and then it's funny that now that you're like, the movie leads you into this, right? Like it looks like he wrenched this car up and like did like an exquisite job fixing it, and you
In
start to
almost no
realize
time.
in like a month, and you start to realize like even the guys are like, damn, he's really good with a wrench, and like and like his mom's like, oh my god, or like Dennis is like, how the hell is like this Christine, and then like he has like one like different door, and then like he pulls up to the football game and the car is completely brand new.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, you don't get that Christine is fixing herself while he's fixing Christine type
Because like
situation.
I think what's interesting is I think he like does some of it, but like when she gets like really beat up, like when the bullies come and like they smash her basically to bits, he shows up and he's
Yes.
just like heartbroken, and then like she starts to like wiggle a little bit. And he just says, "Okay, show me." And like I think that's like the first time he really sees it happen. Like he probably, I think he knew something was up, whether it's a
Yes.
choice for him to fall in love with Christina or just some kind of like magic spell that takes over him. But like I feel like it's half of him when we see it for the first time. He's kind of seeing it for the first time too, and he's just like, "Oh, this is cool."
Yeah, because you're right. He did do like a lot of work. Like he even says it when Dennis is like, "How's the car or whatever?" And he's like, just a lot of hard work and like that's how I fixed her up. It was happening slower, and for him to see it like fully just be like burp and come back to life
Yeah.
was pretty cool.
The thing I wish that this movie did, because I think it would have been cool. I didn't even think about it, so it's not like something I was just like waiting all movie for. But at the end, in that final showdown where they lure Arnie and Christine to the garage, and they're gonna like they're gonna use the caterpillar to like take it out, essentially, right? Even though in the book, there was a there's a pink septic truck named Petunia, and so Stephen King
Oh,
was just like, we have two girl cars going against each other at the end of my book. It's super cool, which I think does sound actually pretty cool.
yeah.
But in this thing, they're just like Christine's driving around, like they're waiting for Christine, but Christine's already there, and this whole thing, there's like this
It's
battle
funny that Christine is hiding under shit.
under boxes and stuff.
Yeah, that's like it's kind of incredible. It made me chuckle and like took me out of the scare of that part, but it was just such like a funny stupid thing. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Oh, the car the car sneaks up on you, like you're not in like a I get that it's like a pretty big garage or whatever, but like the car just like pops out from behind some boxes and you're like, "Come on, man." Like you fuckers didn't look in the corner where there's
Yeah.
a giant ass car with all these boxes in front of it. Like, come on.
This is the first time we see Arnie actually driving Christine, so I guess he's been driving the whole time, but he also gets killed here because like Christine crashed and he goes through the windshield, so maybe he wasn't driving, who knows. He gets impaled by a piece of glass. But the thing that I was waiting or didn't know that I was waiting for was at one point Lee jumps and grabs like a pipe above her and like swings over
Yes.
the car. And I'm
Yes.
like, why is no one trying to run upstairs? Like,
Yeah.
I want to see Christine try to climb some stairs, like in a house or something. You know what I mean? Apparently, in the book, I think maybe the heavy set bully, I think, like tries to climb upstairs, tries to get away from Christine, and has like an asthma attack and dies that way because he's just like so
Oh,
stressed
okay.
out. Because I think
Okay.
in this one, he just like goes into that like tiny little alley and then Christine squeezes in and like kills him.
I
And I'm
also
like,
thought like why didn't he do like like Spider-Man leg jump type situation? Cause like once you're higher than the car,
right.
it can't jump.
Because as soon, she like grabs the pipe and like just like pulls herself up so that Christine can go by. I'm just like, stay up there, like go
Yeah.
high. Because she's like trying to go in the office that like Christine crashes into. I'm just like,
Yeah.
no, like you can't like it can't
I
jump. Like this isn't Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Like what are we doing here? Just go up.
this no, I had the exact same thought. Like she grabs the thing, then falls, and I was like, "Yep, why didn't you just stay up there?"
The only question I had, and I thought I knew the answer, and then I'm like, no, maybe not. But like when they first see Christine, she's got like 93,000 miles on it, right? And Dennis is like more like probably 193,000.
Yes.
And then as we see the movie go along, as Arnie is driving, the odometer's counting down, right? Like it's getting less and less, I guess, getting new or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it basically hits zero as it dies. I'm like, did it know that it was going to die? Like, did it sense that was like it counting down its own demise? I'm like, maybe. But then it comes back to life again. Like it wiggles at the end. I'm just like, oh, wait, so no. But like, I do you think that like represents anything, or is that just like it to its death was zero, or is it just like a, kind of a cool thing to do? You know what I'm
No,
asking?
I know what you're asking. Like, did it have like a self-death countdown clock type
Because it
situation?
knew when it eventually like mostly died, and it's when that hit zero. So it feels like that, but like it's not dead.
Was it counting? Was it actually counting down? Do we see it like at different stages being less and less?
No, I
Because
think we see it. We see it when they're on the highway and he's drunk driving and going the other side. We see it going down. I think that's the first, maybe the only other time we see it. And then at the end, it hits zero. Maybe it was counting down to Arnie's death.
maybe I thought more so that it was counting up and about to lap to signify like its full rebirth.
Oh, okay,
You get what I'm saying? Because an
sure.
odometer goes up, and once it hits nine, like straight nines, it's gonna flip to zero. So I always assumed it was going that way.
Yeah, that's fair.
And like then it like hits zero as Arnie dies, and it's like I'm Christine again, fucking deal type situation. You know what I mean?
Just like the meme with the sunglasses coming down. Deal with it.
Yeah,
That'd be good. The Christine car with the sunglasses on it, just saying deal with it.
yeah, exactly.
It wouldn't be good, but I appreciate it. Any other notes, any other thoughts, any other questions? Anything else about Christine?
Yes, I have a quite a few that I think are interesting
Hmm.
tidbits that I picked up. When Christine's being built, the manager of the car thing is eating a Clark bar. Little
Oh,
Pittsburgh shout out there.
Okay,
I
very
could tell
cool.
by the red wrapper. That was really cool. If anybody doesn't know or has never had a Clark bar is just much like a Butterfinger. It's very close to a Butterfinger, but I think better. Regional. They were made in Pittsburgh for forever. Now they're made in Altoona. Clark bars are top tier.
Cool,
So
cool.
try a Clark bar. I was very floored by the blonde girl at the beginning saying TTFN.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was like, that feels very strange in a world that has no text or AIM, right? Like,
Right.
I wasn't ready for it. I guess that we always had like acronyms and
It
like,
must have been because because I think they either remade it, they're gonna remake it. So like if it came out now it's in the 80s, they're like, oh, that they goofed that up. But like, no, it was written in the 80s. Like it came out in the 80s. Like they
yeah,
said that in the 80s, I guess. But yeah, I'm right there with you.
it had to be like written in notes or something, right? Because like that had to be the medium, like passing notes in class type situation. You had to have like some
Sure.
shorthand,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, in your own like meme internet language, whatever. The biggest moment that felt like Fast and the Furious for me was we see like a truck driver coming down in the dark, and I was so ready for the truck to get hijacked.
Oh sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What else? Oh, uh, Arnie's evolution of clothes. Like at the end, it feels like he's dressed like Akira. I was getting big Akira vibes with
Oh
like the
sure.
red
Yeah. Okay.
leather
Mm-hmm.
jacket type
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
situation, and
But Akira came out. Well, maybe it was based on the manga that was
that's
already out.
that's what I want to ask.
So Akira came out in '88. The manga was in the '80s. It started in December '82. So like, it was I don't know, man. Like the
It's really
first
close.
issue was like 2 weeks before '82 ended. This came out in '83. Like it feels like it was either like they saw, but I don't, because that's also implying that like it's big enough, important enough, popular enough from the jump that they're gonna be like we're gonna copy this. Like I think it's just coincidence, but like the timing is it could have been, but I don't think so.
When did Thriller come out?
Ooh, I think after this. Thriller album came out. Oh no, 82, 82.
Okay,
Oh,
and
but no,
and
but November '82. So red leather jackets big at the end of the. Maybe that's just an '80s thing.
and also last one, when did the Eddie Murphy special come out where he's wearing
Is that
the
Delirious or Raw?
I think it was Raw.
Eddie Murphy Raw was '87. Delirious was Delirious is the one that's October '83. That's the red jumpsuit.
Okay, so maybe it was just fashion because those are like four distinct red leather jackets
Hmm.
that all kind of look similar with like the shoulder padding, maybe a little bit of black trim type situation, and they're all like in that same year. So, wow.
I think it's just the '80s, right?
You also had like all that neon fucking workout kind of shits too. So like the red leather jacket thing is like not something I specifically think when I think 80s clothes, but now that we're saying it, like 83, whoever was selling red leather jackets was having a fucking day.
Yeah, I think it's
Like
just
that.
like you think like Devo. Like I don't know if Devo was like leather, but like it just feels like all of like new wave and all
Yeah.
of like just yeah, red leather in general. I think probably just big in the '80s.
One of my one of my favorite lines from this movie for no reason was he's talking to the cop.
Harry Dean Stanton. We've seen him in a bunch of things.
Yeah, he's talking to the cop, and he says something, and he's like, "Yeah, well, Moochie got wiped off too." And I was like, "What is it?" It sounds kind of sexual and kind of violent, but like, what does that actually mean?
Don't know.
Don't know. I get exactly what he's saying. Nothing I've never heard before, and you know that I love a phrase that didn't exist in my brain
Sure.
before I heard it.
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly, and one of my favorite things about this movie is I think it both starts and ends with Bad to the Bone. And that's hilarious to me because like every boomer like in the boomer car group, the running joke is that like anybody that has a boomer old car just wants to just listens to Bad to the Bone on the radio.
Is it because of this movie?
Probably has a strong influence of that, probably just because these old guys love that song. Like it's very much like, an old dad song.
What's funny is that song came out in '82, and so when they're playing it in '57 or whatever, just like, oh, that's not a '50s song.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah. Very true.
So like it
Yeah,
makes
I
sense at the
didn't.
end. It doesn't make sense at the beginning. I also like I think the last line of the movie might be, "God, I hate rock and roll." Just like get out of. I can't hear these songs anymore because like Christine loves rock and roll.
Yes, she does.
The only other note that I have is that I can't believe, when Arnie first brings Christine to that garage and that guy's like being a real hard ass, like the owner, and like he's just like, no smoking cigarettes. Like I'm surprised, like not as the franchise goes on, but I'm surprised that nobody in the first movie, or maybe they are, does Jesse smoke cigarettes in the first movie?
His hand motions make it feel like he might smoke.
Because it feels like in that first movie, that entire garage should be filled with cigarette smoke.
It should.
Because like this is like the gritty, dirty, like using the F word, like whatever, like all this different, this is how a garage actually looks and smells and whatever.
And it's true.
Yeah,
It
right.
like it should be grimy and filled with smoke and like dudes hanging out, swearing and
Yeah, like our family mechanic that we used like for years, like when you go over his garage was just like plastered with like 30 years of like cigarette smoke. It just like everything just smelled like that. It's just like, oh yeah, like, I'm here. And like he would get in the car and just like when he would be done servicing, like your car would smell like that for a couple of days, like just like, oh, that's just like what these dudes smell like.
dude. One of my dad's friends who has a body shop has I had a problem with my car. I come up, he pops the hood with a lit cigarette in his mouth and sticks his full face with the lit cigarette in his mouth inside my hood. And I was
Super
like,
cool.
that doesn't seem safe.
No.
But also, I feel like you do this all the time, literally every single minute of
Mm-hmm.
the day. And I was like, so you haven't exploded yet, but at the same time, still doesn't feel safe at all. So, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Any other notes? Any other thoughts?
Oh, last note, good note to end on. When they're fighting at the beginning, when he stabs through his lunch, his go-to move is to grab him by the dick.
Yeah. 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 Uh-huh.
That felt just weird.
Well, again, it's the gay undertones. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
I thought you were a man. Like, why you let me grab? Like, I thought you were straight. Like, why you let me grab your dick? Like, they're not saying that. It's also like,
But like he's like, "Hey man," and just like grabs his junk, and I'm like,
yeah,
"Was that like?" And that's not. I don't know. For like for being the time of like, man, I wish we could go back to where men were men. Like
grabbing each
all of
other's junk. Yeah,
yeah, there's
smoking
always
cigarettes, fixing cars, and grabbing dick. Wait, what?
yeah. You're like, when a fight meant that you couldn't use a knife if the other guy didn't have a knife, and grabbing dicks was the first move. You're like, what are you guys
Because like
doing here?
even before, like when the not Nicolas Cage guy is holding the lunch bag, he's like, "Come get it," and like he like holds it in his left hand, his right hand is like dick level. It's just like, so your goal here is to have him reach for that. You grab his dick, and then like he's the gay one.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly.
And then yeah,
And I was
and
like,
then the heavyset bully like grabs not Kevin Bacon's dick. It's just like all right, like and like he just
grabbing
like
dicks.
taps out, right? Just like okay,
I don't know, man. It must have been a wild time to be a teenage boy because grabbing dicks was just like totally normal and made the other person gay.
I
That's
also feel like the thing that frustrates me about like new Stephen King movies is that like It and stuff. It's just like there's no. It's very clear who's good and who's bad, and I feel like in this, like it's also very clear who's good and who's bad. But I just feel like that kind of works better in the '80s aesthetic as opposed to now, which is like, oh, these kids are just like cyber bullies. It's just like that sucks. Like they're just dicks,
yeah,
right? Here it's just like,
yeah.
oh yeah, no, like that's just like stereotypically '80s bullies. I don't know. Like I feel like the Stephen King, or maybe just like maybe the newer movies just aren't as good. But I feel like these just because I don't
Hit. Yeah.
yeah, I don't think he's writing different stuff. Like I think he's basically writing the same kind of thing, right? Like he
Oh
might
yeah,
be
it's the same
whatever.
story.
So yeah, I don't know.
It's the same story with a different like bad scary thing, right? It's like bad scary clown, bad scary car, bad scary house, bad whatever, right?
There's
It's all
I haven't watched Family Guy in like 20 years because it's been on forever.
yeah.
But I remember very early there's like a flashback or a thought or one of those like the Family Guy throwaway gags. They're just like Stephen King pitching his new book, and he's like at his he's like at his agent's office. He's like, "All right, Stephen, what you got?" He's just like he's like looking around the room. He's just like it's a scary lamp. The lamp is haunted. Ooh. He's like, all right, fine, we'll sell it. Whatever. Just like yeah, just like what can I see? What can I see? What can I see? Oh, a lamp. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
I agree. Yep.
Okay, let's watch the trailer. Christine, 1983, trailer number one, posted by Rotten Tomato. Here, this makes no sense. Maybe the account changed. It's Rotten Tomatoes classic trailers, but it's in the title Movie Clips classic trailers. So maybe Movie Clips was bought by Rotten Tomatoes.
There's some fuckery happening. There's some fuckery happening with movie clips for sure. It definitely got bought by someone. It must be Rotten Tomatoes, and they just like ported all their things.
As Amy Winehouse once crooned, what kind of fuckery is this? One of the top comments is this trailer is scarier than the movie. So let's find out. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready whenever you are, bud.
3, 2, 1, play. Minute
She is
20. Very short
seductive.
trailer.
That is fucking awesome. This start is incredible.
She is passionate.
Yep, this is amazing.
She
It's
is
like these
possessive.
shots that look like it's a woman's body, like it could be her butt, could
She
be her
is
back.
pure. Evil.
Oh yeah. Yep.
She is Christine.
it's gonna-
A
Okay.
1958 Plymouth Fury.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Possessed
Wow.
by hell.
This might be the best trailer we've ever watched for this game.
Is not alive
Like just
to
starting out like that,
live
that's
reservoir.
genius.
Because all you need is a
What
cool
she
trailer is like
lures you
from Stephen
behind
King.
the
It's just like, all right, yeah, I'm good.
You will be hers.
No, but like you make it like look like sexual, and you're like,
There is
oh,
no
what's this
place
movie?
you
And
can
it's like
hide.
it's Christine, and you're like,
No place you can
oh, and then
run.
it's like 1958
And
Plymouth
nothing
Fury,
you
and you're like,
can do
what?
Can stop her. Because how do you kill something that can't possibly be alive?
Oh,
Hell yeah.
oh, shit.
Christine. Body by Plymouth. Soul by Satan.
Oh, the end was amazing too.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good.
That's one of the best trailers I've ever seen. I'm gonna like pause this so Rachel can watch it afterwards. It's fucking incredible.
That rules. That's so good. Go watch that. I mean, you probably heard it underneath it, but just go look. Christine, 1983 trailer number 1, posted by
That was
Rotten
a
Tomatoes.
really
Minute
dude.
long. Awesome.
It didn't ruin anything about the movie. It told you exactly what's happening. It didn't even say Stephen King in it.
Nope.
It sold it like that it's sexy. Wow. I'm like really impressed by that.
Body by Plymouth, soul by Satan is a wonderful line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Holy shit. Okay.
Okay, so the Letterboxd game, for reference sake, Mad Max Fury Road, one of the most popular films on Letterboxd, has been seen by 1.2 million people. Christine, 1983, directed by John Carpenter, starring Keith Gordon, John Stockwell, Alexandra Paul, and Robert Prosky, has been seen by how many people?
How about we start with the year, the movie we were talking about? 83,000 people have logged this movie.
You are too low. Got to go
Good.
higher.
Okay, good. That makes me happy. 156.
Somewhere in between. One more guess. Between 83 and 156. One more guess.
123.5.
109, 880. So rounded up to 110. 110,000 people.
I wasn't, to be honest, I wasn't that far off on either side. Like, that wasn't like that grossly off. You know what I mean? Like 83 to 109 or whatever. That's not far. Okay, cool. I'm happy.
Past
with
guest of
that.
the show, Garrett Smith, fan favorite, gave it 5 stars.
Yes,
Aaron Newworth
excellent.
gave it only 3 stars.
Ooh,
What are you doing, man?
Aaron.
Tough critic. I feel like every movie I see, Aaron Newworth gives between 3 and 4 stars. He's just like, okay. Mike Manzi gave it 4 stars. Dan Cologne, 4.5. Montez has seen it but not rated it. A lot of people obviously loving it. Austin Wolf Southern with 4 stars. So out of those 110,000 people, average rating of 3.5. Basically an even split between 3, 3.5, and 4-star ratings. How many of those 110,000 people have it in their top 4 favorite films of all time?
Oh, okay. I think that this is so classic that it gotta bang like higher than I would normally guess. I'm gonna start at 55.
You are too low.
Oh, yes. Okay, cool. 105.
You are too low. One more guess.
210.
269 people have this in their top 4.
Nice.
I looked at a ton of them because I was just like, I need to find one that's not like boring or hard, because a lot of people are just like, these are my last 4 that I've seen that I loved, or these are my 4 favorite John Carpenter movies or whatever. But I found
Okay.
Kyle Sutar at Kyle92 on Letterboxd. This is his second review of it. Definitely in the minority capitalized for some reason. Okay. Having this as not only my favorite John Carpenter film, but one of my favorite films of all time. Spelled favorite 2 different ways. Once with U, once without. All right. Kyle,
Okay.
interesting style here. But this movie just works on every level for me. 5 stars. So Kyle's profile picture will not help you, but it is of the Mad Max car. So
Okay.
that. I would say none of his other top 4 are even car movies. Number 1,
fair.
Christine.
Okay.
2 movies from the 90s, 1 movie from the 2000s. I would say
Men in Black.
no, they're all good movies. Not
What
that
you
Men in
trying to
Black's
say
not
about Men in
good.
Black? Okay.
I think Men in Black is fine, although we have canceled Will Smith somewhat.
Yeah, I mean, kind of. Yeah.
Not really.
Okay.
I will say that all three of these, I think, play on nostalgia in a way that Christine kind of does. One of these
Back to the Future.
explicitly, no, but that's in the 80s. You think so? We're looking for
Okay.
93, 94, and '07. One of them is one of the letterboxed top 4 Hall of Famers.
Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction, number 3 from 1994.
Okay.
So like that's kind of playing on nostalgia. That's kind of like a
Yeah,
60s,
yeah.
70s pulp crime thing.
Yep, I get it.
The one from 93 is explicitly in a way that is very similar to how Christine plays on 50s things in the 70s and the 80s or whatever. This is also doing a thing playing back on something that came out in 93, one of the big nostalgia pieces I would say of all time. But also a great movie.
Big
And
nostalgia.
I will also say, to honor Brian High School Summer Party Late Night Rodriguez, this is a movie that inspired the naming of one of the games on his show. We talked about the Cameron Fry Award, obviously from Ferris Bueller. But one of the
Yes.
other awards that Brian gives out at the end of every show is based on a character in this movie.
16 Candles.
No,
Uh,
the other
what-
one.
The Breakfast Club.
No, 16 Candles is right because it's the Long Duck Dong Award. But the other award he gives out,
It's Cameron Fry, Long Duck Dong.
the character you would like to see more of,
Who is it? I don't know I forget the
the
award.
character name is Wooderson.
Wooderson. Oh,
Nostalgia piece.
yeah.
One of Ben Affleck's very first
Fast
movies.
Times at Ridgemont High.
Nope.
What is it then?
That came out in
Wooderson.
82.
What's the Wooderson Award then?
You know what I like about high school girls, man?
Oh yeah. What's the name of that movie?
I get older.
And they stay the same age.
All right.
All right.
What's that movie?
Fuck. What is it?
He also, this director, about 5 or 10 years ago, made what might genuinely be my favorite movie of all time about the 80s. But this movie is about the 70s. It's also a Led Zeppelin song.
What?
The name of this movie is also the name of a Led Zeppelin song.
It is?
1993. Matthew McConaughey.
I know everything about it. I can't think of the title. What is it? And I know all the Led Zeppelin songs too. So this is very frustrating.
It's one
What
of
is
Led
it?
Zeppelin's most famous songs, too.
I'm sure it is.
Richard Linklater's Stairway to Heaven. You know that one. Just kidding. It's Dazed and Confused.
Yeah, Dazed and Confused. Thank you.
All right, number 2 from 2007. I think this might be the best, and I'm not alone in this. This is also very common sort of among film snobs. I think a lot of people would say that this is the best movie of the 2000s. It's made by a director who is a top 4 All-Star, top 4 Hall of Famer.
Okay.
I'm sure we've had this one.
Is it Magnolia?
No, that's also 1999.
Okay.
Go see 1999, the podcast.
2000.
Different director, though, because Kubrick was dead after... Oh, wait, no, sorry. That's Paul Thomas Anderson. Different guy. I was thinking about Eyes Wide Shut. I was conflating the 2 Tom Cruise movies from 99. But no, it's not Paul Thomas Anderson, and it's not Stanley Kubrick.
Okay.
But it's another dude, because people love dudes. Movie set in the 60s, maybe the 70s. I think the 60s, though. Maybe also partly the 70s. Came out in '07. Hall of Fame top 4 director. Starring 2 Avengers.
2 Avengers. Okay.
And also Mysterio, a Marvel villain.
Rey Mysterio,
Who's Rey Mysterio? Is he an athlete?
the wrestler,
Right, okay.
the luchador.
Iron Man, the Hulk, and Mysterio all in this movie.
So okay, what the fuck is the? I don't know. I don't know. It's
Tagline: There's more than
please.
one way to lose your life to a killer. Based on a true story, set in the 60s and 70s.
one of the best movies of the 2000s.
Yep.
Famous director.
Mhm.
And it has Iron Man. It has Tony Stark in it.
He's the lead.
Is it? Oh. No, I don't know what it is. Go ahead.
Zodiac.
Ah, okay.
Zodiac 2007, directed by David Fincher, Hall of Famer.
Fincher
in this
is
game.
top tier, yeah. That's Hall
Christine,
of Fame.
Zodiac, Pulp Fiction, and Dazed and Confused.
Should have been an easy lineup, but you had to deal with my brain, so there you go.
Yes.
You picked a very, very good one. Well-rounded. Should have been easy. I appreciate your effort in this game.
Thank you so much. I tried.
Yeah, you did good.
Well, you did good by telling us to do this one. So this is our Halloween bonus episode tomorrow on the
That was a
main
fun
feed.
movie. Are you happy we watched that,
Very
by the
happy
way?
we watched it.
I think that was great. That it fit the theme. It fit the time of the season, and fit fucking car movies. So
Yeah.
good for us.
Tomorrow on the main feed, Life in the Fast Lane #2 will be out. Later this week for the patrons, or next week for you, is Fast and Furious #4 with Montez from 2009. We have another bonus episode coming up that I think we'll announce on the next episode, but our next patron, or actually our first patron-picked bonus episode for this lap, we will announce next week and will be out in the near future. So if you want even more episodes, toofast2forever.com. But for all things Too Fast, Too Forever, go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/toofast2forever, or at toofast2forever on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, family@cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon page at toofast2forever.com and our store at toofast2forever.shop. And come back tomorrow for Life in the Fast Lane, and next week for Fast and Furious #4, toofast2forever.com for lots of bonus episodes. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too.
And we'll tell you all about it.
See you.